The mayor's going to start off with some comments.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. Thank you very much, Commissioner. You're going to hear, after I give some opening comments, you're going to hear from Commissioner O'Neill in detail, and then Commissioner Nigro and Bill Sweeney, Assistant Director of the FBI. I want to thank our federal partners who have been with us from the very beginning of this incident. We are working very, very closely with the FBI to determine exactly what happened here. I was in the affected area this morning talking to residents. Governor Cuomo and I spoke to a number of people who live and work in that area. And I want to say at the outset, I want to commend my fellow New Yorkers who deal with challenges with incredible resiliency, who are strong, who are focused on going about their everyday business, who are not intimidated by anything. That's something we're very proud of here in the city. I talked to a lot of people, including folks who were in their homes or in their businesses at the moment the explosion occurred last night. They uniformly said it worried them for sure, but they also said it was not going to change anything they were doing today. And I saw people out there going about their business as usual. I also saw an extraordinary response by the NYPD, FDNY, Office of Emergency Management. Folks said to me in the neighborhood how reassured they were by the speedy response last night, by the continued police presence. They understand there's an ongoing investigation. It will take some time. They understand there'll be some disruption in that immediate community. But by and large, people are getting back to business as usual. We heard a good report on the MTA, no damage there, and that will be up and running soon at that subway stop. The attitude people took was one of gratitude for our first responders and a sense that they were safe now with the kind of presence that was around them at this point. Now, this was a very serious incident. It's going to take a lot of careful investigation to get to the facts and get to the truth. And one of the things we're going to say to you today is we're going to be very careful and patient to get to the full truth here. We are not going to jump to conclusions. We're not going to offer you easy answers. We're going to make sure we have all the facts. We know there was a bombing. That much we do know. We know it's a very serious incident. But we have a lot more work to do to be able to say what kind of motivation was behind this. Was it a political motivation, a personal motivation? What was it? We do not know that yet. That work must go on. And we're going to give you regular updates as we get more information. In terms of those who were affected by this incident, 29 individuals were injured. All have been released from the hospital now. You'll hear more from Commissioner Nigro about the response by the FDNY and the status of those individuals. We obviously, our thoughts and our prayers are with all of them for a full recovery, but I'm very, very pleased to say they're all out of the hospital. Now, for all New Yorkers, a central message we want to give today is be vigilant. Be vigilant at this point in time. Not just because of this incident, be vigilant because we're going into United Nations General Assembly week. Be vigilant because the police need your help. And if you see anything that might be pertinent to this case, we need you to call it in. And you should know you will see a very substantial NYPD presence this week, bigger than ever. We would normally have an expanded presence for the United Nations General Assembly. You will see an even stronger presence now. New Yorkers always tell me how reassured they are by seeing our officers, including our newer units such as the Critical Response Command and the Strategic Response Group, seeing them out in force and seeing them at the scene of obviously key public locations around the United Nations, around Times Square, a lot of other places, well-armed, well-trained. This new unit and the capacity that it has are crucial to keeping this city safe. And so you'll see a lot of them this week. That capacity that we've built, and Commissioner O'Neill was a crucial part of that effort, the capacity we've built over the last 2 years in response to events we've seen around the world, gives us the strongest anti-terror capacity of any city in the country. And again, it will be fully in use this week. Now, we know from everything we've seen so far that this was an intentional act. I want to reaffirm what I said last night. But again, we do not know the motivation. We do not know the nature of it. That's what we have to do more work on. The investigatory agencies continue to look to see if there is any specific connection to the incident in New Jersey. At this point, we do not have any specific evidence of a connection, but that will continue to be considered. So we're not taking any options off the table. I want to be very clear about that. All possible theories of what's happened here and how it connects will be looked at, but we have no specific evidence at this point in time. Again, we're going to urge all New Yorkers to be patient as we get down to the bottom of what happened here. We want to be accurate. I think the most important thing is to give people a clear and accurate picture of what happened, and obviously to bring to justice whoever was involved in this incident. And the NYPD is using its full capacity to find anyone who is involved and bring them to justice. I want to affirm again, if you have any information that might link to this incident, video, photos, eyewitness accounts, overheard conversations, anything, please call the NYPD, and the number is 1-800-577-TIPS, 1-800-577-TIPS. New Yorkers, as always, are not intimidated. As part of who we are, we'll go about our business, and we will help our police to do the jobs they do, and they are the finest in the world. Quickly in Spanish, anoche tuvimos un incidente grave en nuestra ciudad y la policía lo está investigando. Quiero asegurar a todos los neoyorquinos que hoy no hemos recibido amenazas creíbles. Tenemos la mejor fuerza policial del país. Ellos van a encontrar y arrestar a los responsables de este hecho. With that, I turn back to Commissioner Jimmy O'Neill.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I'm going to give you an update on last night's incident and what's going on right now. So we have two separate crime scenes. And keep in mind, we're in the middle of a very complex post-blast investigation and a number of agencies involved. There's, of course, the NYPD, the FBI, the ATF, and the state police. So there are many agencies involved in this complex investigation. We're still gathering evidence at 23rd Street, and we did find some components indicative of an IED. We moved the device from 27th Street up to Rodman's Neck last night, and the bomb squad is in the process of working on that device right now. So, of course, they're taking their time and want to make sure that we use as much time as necessary to make that determination what that device is consists of. We've recovered video from both scenes, and we're continuing to canvass for witnesses and additional video. And we're looking to speak to anyone in the vicinity of either location last night. So we need people to call 1-800-577-TIPS, as the mayor said. We put that out last night, and as New Yorkers usually do, we received numerous phone calls, and each one of those phone calls is being vetted by our detectives. So right now, this is a parallel investigation with the NYPD, the JTTF, and the FBI. And we're always on alert in New York City. And this is a device, as the mayor said, that went off intentionally. If this happened in another city, of course, we'd ramp up our security. And it happened here, so I'll ramp up our security even more. And Chief Gomez is going to speak about that in a couple of minutes. You know, we talked about this over the last 2 years, how we foiled 20 plots in New York City. And that was done by a very professional, highly trained law enforcement agencies. And this violent criminal act is going to be solved by those same people, by that same group of people. So New York City residents can rest assured that we'll get to the bottom of this. Right now, we're not discounting anything at this point. And again, we're in the process of a complex investigation to determine who did this and why they did this. Carlos is going to talk about the counterterrorism overlay. There are a lot of things going on in the city today, and we just need people in New York to rest assured that we're going to do our best to protect them. Right now, we don't have enough information to make any final conclusion. As the mayor said, we don't know if there's any political or social motivation, but we definitely had a bombing last night on 23rd Street, and we had a suspicious device on 27th Street. So we're going to move this investigation forward, and we finally make that determination. We'll make sure we let everybody know. Right now, Assistant Director in Charge from the FBI, Bill Sweeney, is going to make some comments. Bill?
Thank you, Commissioner. Good afternoon. The FBI NYPD Joint Terrorism Task Force, which is made up of over 50 agencies, is fully engaged. The investigation is still in its early stages, and our thoughts are with the victims, and we hope for quick recoveries for all. The evidence we've collected is being taken to our lab at Quantico for review, and we are following every viable lead as we continue to work jointly with the NYPD and the FDNY and all of our local, state, and federal partners. I expect evidence collection to continue for at least 4 to 5 more hours on the street itself. We have not yet made entry into the residences and the buildings on that street. We are very grateful for the assistance and the patience of those residents in that neighborhood. The New York JTTF is also working side by side with the Newark, New Jersey-based JTTF. We will also bring additional resources in as we need them. If anyone has any information, we ask you to use either the NYPD tip line at 1-800-577-TIPS or submit a tip on our website at www.fbi.gov. It is vitally important that we do not inadvertently disclose information that inform the subjects. I think the public understands the need for that level of operational security, and for that reason, I do not expect to answer specific questions on how much and what we know. Thank you.
Thanks, Bill. Commissioner Nigro is going to give you an update on those injured last night.
Thank you. Last night was a extremely well-coordinated response to that attack, and our members, the fire department, was able to identify, treat, and transport 29 people quickly. I'm happy to say that as of this morning, all 29 injured people have been released from the hospital, and that's very good news. The fire department, along with the building department, also examined the buildings that were damaged in the explosion and found them to be structurally stable. There was no structural damage. And again, that's good news. You'll hear a little from Chief Gomez about how the police department is prepared moving forward. And the fire department is certainly as prepared. Chief Leonard and I coordinating our people on the ground to support that effort. So that's the news from the fire department.
Thanks, Commissioner Nigro. Chief Gomez is now going to give you an update on what's going on throughout the city right now. Carlos.
Well, good afternoon. Today there are several special events occurring throughout the city, actually in all 5 boroughs. We've increased our police presence in each of these events. We've added more officers to it. We've also added more counterterrorism officers as well as heavy weapons teams in some of these events. Teams from the Strategic Response Group as well as the Critical Response Command. Commuters in our transit system will be greeted by more officers also. We'll be doing enhanced bag checks throughout the city, not just in the major hubs, but we're picking random stations throughout the city. There will be more canines in the transit system, and we are coordinating with our partners in the MTA as well as the Port Authority. And heavy weapons teams will also be assigned to our transit hubs and certain stations. As for traffic, 23rd Street and 27th Street obviously remain closed. We're processing the crime scene. 6th Avenue remains closed right now from 14th Street all the way up to 27th Street, so please avoid that area. We'll try to clear it up as soon as we can. Thank you.
So just before we take some questions, I just want to thank all the members of law enforcement that responded to the scene last night. And I specifically want to thank the men and women from the New York City Police Department Bomb Squad who safely removed that device from 27th Street and transported it up to Rodman's Neck, and are right now working on determining what that actually consists of. So I'd like to thank the men and women of the Bomb Squad. Sure. And of course, we took a good look at that. At this point, we haven't made the determination that there's any significance to either location. Lisa?
Did anyone call to claim responsibility for the bombing on 23rd Street? Or did you have any?
Yeah, at least at this point, no individual or group has called to claim responsibility. Yes.
Commissioner, we have learned that there was a bulletin that went out September 14th warning of increased extremist activity for New York and some other cities. Is that true, and what response was there to that?
New York City is always in a state of alert based on us being the #1 target in the world. So that's why we ramped up ESU. That's why we have Hercules teams. That's why we have SRG, and that's why we have CRC. So we are always in a state of readiness.
And to follow up, just the one thing with Seaside Park yesterday, it was something that you said you were monitoring closely. What specifically does that mean?
It means we're trying to determine if there's a connection. At this point, we have not made that determination. There was a blast in Seaside Park, New Jersey, and there's one in New York City later on. So we can't ignore that factor. So during the course of our investigation, we have to see if there's a connection. And at this point, there doesn't appear to be one. Yes.
Commissioner, the device on 27th Street, did it contain an explosive or was it just a pressure cooker? Or what?
That's what the bomb squad is very carefully working on right now. And we want to be able to take that apart to see what exactly it consists of. Yes, sir.
Mayor de Blasio, when you toured the site earlier in Chelsea, what did you see? Who did you talk to? Can you go in a little detail about
Yeah,
it?
very quickly. I talked to a number of community residents, a number of folks who were in their homes last night when the blast occurred, a lot of folks who work in the area were coming in this morning. And I think the response, I talked to a few dozen people, the response was very, very similar. Of course, it was unsettling when the blast occurred, but people didn't know what it was, so they continued going about their business until they knew more. Tremendous appreciation for the response by the first responders. Sense this morning that they needed to go on about their lives, and they knew there was a very, very strong police presence in the neighborhood. And several people said to me that they didn't doubt today that they would go about their lives and their business. One woman came in from Queens to go to a church nearby. I said, did you hesitate? Did you think maybe you shouldn't go to the church? She said, no. She said, for one thing, God is with me, and for another thing, as a New Yorker, I'm of course going to keep going. Another guy in the Starbucks we were in came down from Washington Heights to his job. I said, did you wonder whether your job would be open? Do you wonder if you shouldn't go? He said, no, I knew I should go, and I knew it would be open. So I think there's a sense of resiliency and a real faith that the NYPD is addressing the situation.
For the assistant director, in terms of a lot is being made whether or not this is going to wind up being terrorism, can you just kind of take people through what you would need to sort of say, yes, this is terrorism? Because ultimately, this is what the FBI to sort of decide whether this is terrorism. Just kind of take us through what steps you need, what you would be looking for to determine whether or not this is terrorism.
We will look at everything. We'll look at motivations. We'll look at individuals. We'll look at associations. We'll look at social networks. We'll look at all the incoming tips and leads. Everything that comes in gets a look. We don't discard anything. We take everything into account, and we move from there. It's that simple.
Mayor, Commissioner, on July 3rd of this year, we had an explosion in Central Park. Obviously, had what happened last night in the suspicious package on 27th Street. Have you found any commonality between any of those events or those devices specifically, and any commonality between 23rd Street and the suspicious package of 27th?
All right, let me let Chief Boyce discuss that. He's got that July 3rd investigation.
Good afternoon. Right now, the Central Park issue from July doesn't appear to be related to this at all. It's two different issues from what we can see. We're not prepared right now to say that the 23rd and 27th Street, because we don't have everything in. Think of a jigsaw puzzle of evidence out on the street right now. That's where we are. We have to assemble that and analyze that compared to the 27th. Do we think they're related? Yes, we have to move in that direction. But right now, we're not ready to make these calls yet. Bomb Squad right now is up at their headquarters analyzing that. That could take the next couple hours. We want to do so intelligently and move forward. Right now, that's evidence for us. Could be crucial to our case. There's no connection. I'll keep saying there's no connection to Central Park at all at this point.
Mayor de Blasio, how can you say that there's no link to terrorism when the Inspire magazine published instructions on how to build one of these pressure cooker bombs like the one that was used in the Boston area?
Again, the job for all of us, and led here by the JTTF, and we particularly are listening to the judgment of our colleagues in the FBI, is to analyze the facts, understand what motivation existed, and why this was done and how this was done. Until we have that information, it is not fair for us to give the public a conclusion. let the law enforcement experts draw the conclusions.
Mayor, regards to that, Governor Cuomo came out and said this morning that this was an act of terrorism. Does that counteract what you're saying?
Again, let the law enforcement experts draw the conclusions. this is the standard that we use here, and I think it's the right way to go. Again, that's all I have to say.
Commissioner, how concerned are you that you have a bomber running around the city with UNGA and all the other elements that Chief Gomez talked about? And for the 8A, just to get it all in, you mentioned subjects several times in your remarks. Are there multiple people that you believe involved, and is anyone in custody?
All right, so let me address the UNGA issue and everything else that's going on in New York City. UNGA, we've been, as an agency, this is what we do, and we do it very well. We've been doing this for years. So we took a look at our coverage, our detail for the weeks, and we're satisfied where we are where we need to be. I am concerned. Right, we did have a bomb that was detonated on 23rd Street, and we have no one apprehended. So of course I'm concerned. But I know, working with our federal partners and ATF, FBI, State Police, NYPD, I know we're going to find out who did this, and they'll be brought to justice.
Commissioner, can you tell us whether there's anything different that police are doing specifically because of where these devices were found, where they were placed?
Well, it's not only what the police are doing, and we put out a message last night that went to everybody's smartphone. It's about the public too, and we've talked about this on every time I'm at the podium. If you see something out there that makes you feel uncomfortable, that looks unusual, you have to take that step to make sure somebody knows, and we can respond, and we can fully investigate it, and that's how we're going to keep the city safe. It's not just the police department, it's everybody that lives, works, and visits New York City.
Yep. How did police find the second device? Was it flagged to you by passerby? Did an officer come upon it and then flag it? And then for the mayor, when will you be prepared to use the word terror? I mean, by a dictionary definition or by a legal definition, whatever the motivation is, this was an act that harmed many people, was a bombing. Why wait until we know exactly what the motivation is?
We had two very dedicated former NYPD state troopers who responded to the initial job last night. And anytime we have a suspicious package, especially one that's detonated, we do a search for secondaries. And the state troopers took part in that search. They went down 27th Street in a vehicle. They circled the block. They parked their vehicle and actually walked down the block, and that's how they found it. They did a great job.
Commissioner. So just to finish to David's questions. So here's what we know. It was intentional. It was a violent act. It was certainly a criminal act. It was a bombing. That's what we know. To understand there are any specific motivations, political motivations, any connection to an organization, that's what we don't know. So I think it's important to say what we know and what we don't know. It could have been something personally motivated. We don't know yet. We will keep the public informed every step of the way as we get actual, real evidence.
Mayor, if this was an intentional act, what was the intention?
That's what we don't know. That's what we want to find out. We only know it was organized. We know it was, organized in the sense of some individual put it there. Originally, remember, we had the question, could it be a gas leak? Could it be some other kind of accident? We obviously last night were able to tell you it was not an accident. It was intentional. And I understand, obviously, everyone's desire to have as much detail as possible at this moment. But again, we are devoted, all of the agencies in New York City, with our federal partners, to getting you facts that are confirmed. When we have those confirmed facts, we're going to give them to you right away. I think we've covered it. We've covered it. We've covered it.
Mayor, yesterday you said that there was surveillance video of the scene of the bombing. Can you tell us anything that was seen on the surveillance video? Was it one person, two people?
Does the Commissioner handle that?
The bomb itself?
So as far as video recovered, I did view a video last night of the blast. We are canvassing for additional video to see who might have been walking down either street before the blast. So we're in the process of doing that last night. And the video I saw last night was one of the detonations. It's the same thing that the cops from the 10th precinct saw when they were in their RMP about a block away. So.
Can you speak a little bit about the material that was used in the IED that went off on 23rd Street? Any sort of specifics about the action?
Yeah, I'm not going to give you specifics about that. We're still in a process of going through that crime scene, so we're not done with that yet.
Commissioner, can we talk about the challenge here? Because 2 states, 2 explosions in places where people throw away trash. So it's one thing to see a bag left alone at a station. It's another thing, it doesn't arouse much suspicion when someone puts something in the garbage.
Right, I can speak about the New York City incident, and there were dumpsters there, and it's, dumpsters are a part of life in New York City. There's major rehabilitation to that building on 23rd Street. So, unfortunately, there's so much construction in New York City. There are dumpsters all throughout the city.
Commissioner,
Yep.
we heard that there was a note found in the pressure cooker. Is that true?
I'm not going to discuss what was found on 27th Street.
What blew up? What blew up? What was the vessel? What was the...
Well, yeah, we're in the process of investigating that right now. We can't say with 100% degree of certainty where the blast originated.
Commissioner, are you investigating a manifesto posted on Twitter of someone claiming responsibility?
Now, we have the 1-800-577 tips. Each one of those tips is being vetted, so every lead that we get is going to be vetted.
So specifically this posting by someone who's...
Yeah, I don't want to get into that specifically yet. This is an ongoing investigation, so just...
Not to belabor the point about terrorism, but the police department seems in a posture that we would expect after a terror attack, and there really seems going out everywhere. Do we risk, by not calling this a spade here, giving people a false sense of security after?
Hey, David, we are acknowledging that there was a bomb blast on 23rd Street last night, and we are in the process of investigating that. That and the device that was found on 27th Street. And during the course of the investigation, and we are going to determine what the motivation is at some point, we'll say it loud and clear. And if it is an act of terrorism, we're going to come out and say it.
That's right. And one other point, New Yorkers are very smart and very practical. They're going to see a very substantial police presence, well-armed, well-trained, critical response group, strategic response group, critical response command, strategic response group. You will see a lot of police presence. You'll see it in the subway. You will see it at major events. You will see it at major crossroads of this city. Well-armed police officers. People are smart enough to figure out to be vigilant and to call in anything they know. But again, we will give you the facts as we get the facts.
Commissioner, when the wireless emergency alert system was used last night, how would you say the execution went?
It came over my phone. I have 2 cell phones, and I got it when they asked people to stay away from the windows and get to the rear of the building. We had to evacuate in place on 27th Street, and then when the containment vehicle left the scene, that was broadcast too, and I think it was very effective. It helped keep us safe.
Would you use it again in future incidents?
We're going to use whatever technology is available to keep the people of the city safe.
Thank you. Commissioner, I wanted to follow up on the question on the surveillance tape that you viewed. Did you see a person in that video that could possibly identify?
Yeah, what I saw was I saw the blast, and I saw vehicles leaving the scene, and I saw people running up the street. So we're in the process of looking at that now.
Commissioner, have you questioned
Bob?
anybody at all?
Hold on 1 second. Chief Boyce is going to add to that answer.
Just to follow up on your question on surveillance tapes, so the key is to get there before the blast and take a look at that, and that's what we're doing this morning. Now you got to remember, it's a lot of the businesses are closed, but their cameras are still active, so we can't get in there. So we'll spend the next couple of days probably seeing who was on both blocks prior to the explosions. The explosion is for the bomb squad. For our detectives and intelligence bureau, as well as the detective bureau and the FBI, we want to see who was on that street prior. That's where we are right now in our evidence. And you got to remember, it's a warm Saturday evening in Manhattan. There's a lot of people out in the street.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you very much. Folks, we'll have updates as they come in.